Welcome back to another episode of the Inquisitive Mamba podcast. This is episode 58. I'm having a great week. I'm joined here today by Nicolette Rojo. She works for Fox Sports Digital. She's back on the pod. It's great to have you again. And how's your week going?
Good. Thank you, Joey, for having me back on. I'm in the process of wrapping up a fun conference over at USC, University of Southern California in Los Angeles. So busy week, but it's going pretty well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually saw on your Instagram that you're actually, you just said you're at a conference and it's pretty cool. You got to see Al Michaels, you got to see
Yep.
Colin Coward. So talk a little bit about that and then we'll get into the show.
Yeah, so Colin, it was cool that him and I talked shop for a little bit. He complimented me just doing a good job. I was able to talk to some of his bosses and producers for on the radio side because for those who don't know, the herd is a simulcast. So you can see it on TV or of course on our YouTube or social platforms, but you can also listen to it on the radio on iHeart. So
That's awesome.
I was able to meet his bosses and they recognized my name. It was just they haven't never seen me in person, so they couldn't put a face to my name. So good to catch up with him, talk to his bosses a little bit, and Al Michaels was incredible. Just
That's
very,
awesome.
really iconic guy. He's very funny too.
So when does this conference wrap up exactly?
Actually, it just wrapped up right now.
Oh
So
wow, that's
that's
awesome.
why I'm in a hotel room right now.
Okay. And you're in LA, correct?
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, the weather's been pretty crazy there the past few weeks. I've seen on. I'm not there right now, but I've seen the weather's been crazy.
Yeah. Not yeah, we're all disliking it so much. We pay this much to escape the weather, not kind of be caught in it.
So my question for you is how's it going down there in how's in LA?
I would say besides the crazy weather, LA's busy. LA's doing good. USC actually just had its pro day yesterday, so there's
I saw that. Yeah.
a lot of alum that visited here and or quote unquote they came back as speakers or to network. And so it's kind of like a double duty. And I was able to help out talk shop with my sporting tribune peeps as well. And that was just awesome. And I know the next week LA is going to be even more busy because we got WrestleMania next weekend.
Oh yeah, and you're actually going to that, right?
Yeah, I'm very
Oh,
stoked for
that'll be
that.
fun. That'll be fun. I'm not a big WrestleMania, I'm not a big WWE guy, but that'll be really cool. So I want to ask you, did you get a chance to watch that World Baseball Classic game last night between Japan and USA?
Yep, I was at where was I? Oh yeah, I was
Ooh.
at the lab yesterday, which is literally walking distance from the hotel. And
Hmm.
just we were a bunch of sports pros watching it at a bar. It was crazy.
I mean, I just was blown away, obviously, by Shohei Ohtani's performance last night. I mean, he was nothing but spectacular. And the fact that he even came in to close the game was even crazier. And the fact that we got to see him and Mike Trout go at it against each other. Oof, I mean, that was something special. I mean, it was a great game overall. I mean, I was just blown away. I really thought we were going to win that game. I mean, we had that, crazy offensive tear in the last two games, and then Japan just shut our offense down completely. But overall, it was a great tournament. I'm really looking forward to the next one, and I really can't wait, obviously, for baseball season to start. MLB starts next week.
Yeah, super
So,
stoked.
yeah, exactly. So, how about March Madness, though? We definitely got to talk about that. I know we wanted to get you on the pod about what last week, and we didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to because there was a few things. I was extremely tired, and you were super busy. But March Madness first round, we just wrapped that up, and now Sweet 16 starts tomorrow. I posted a TikTok clip, and it actually
Mhm.
went kind of viral, and people were pretty excited, saying, "How can we wait 4 more days? How can we wait 4 more days?" And now tomorrow's the day. So I'm excited. What were your thoughts on the first round of March Madness?
First round was intense. It was very crazy. I did not expect. I had Furman actually upsetting Virginia because Virginia is a
Woo.
good team, but I noticed they really struggled in the ACC tournament, and Furman was just hot. So
Hmm.
in sports, especially in basketball, it's one of those to get hot at the right time or you're cold at the wrong time, it tends to backfire early or so forth. And I called that one. I did not expect Arizona to lose in the first round. I had them lose in the round of 32. And
Hmm.
let alone Princeton in the Sweet 16. I did not see that coming. But
I
just
didn't
very
either.
really, but it's great for the Ivy Leagues too, because we all know Ivy Leagues are elite and everywhere. And so to see Princeton really up there is just really, really fun to see it.
And the fact that they beat Arizona, and most people had Arizona going all the way. If they weren't going all the way, most people had them in at least the, Sweet 16 and then on, further. So I just thought that was crazy to say the least that Princeton actually, got a chance to beat them. And now they beat Missouri and now they play who do they play tomorrow? Is it tomorrow
So
or is it Friday? I have it on my thing here.
yeah, tomorrow, yeah, they play tomorrow. What?
Because I know
Yeah,
because FAU plays Tennessee. I know that. I had it written down. I've got so much that I wrote down, but I know they play. Here it
yeah,
is
they play
here.
Friday. Sorry, so they play.
They
They
play
played number
against
6 seed Creighton
they
at
play
6 p.m.
Creighton.
6
Yes, they
p.m.
play Creighton.
Pacific on TBS.
They play Creighton, that's who it is. And that's going to be a hell of a game if you ask me.
Yeah,
Whew. I mean, they could honestly win that game. I don't think they will, though. I'm just going to have to stick with Creighton on this one. I'm just going to take the favorite. I think Creighton's a little bit better, obviously, and I think the Cinderella story comes to an end. But imagine if they were able to beat Princeton, or excuse me, if they were able to beat Creighton. Oh my gosh, that would be insane.
that would be insane. I mean, but see, I had Creighton going to the Elite Eight too because the
Yeah.
Nemhart
Yep.
James, his brother Andrew, Ryan's brother Andrew, who's with the Pacers now to go into Gonzaga,
Yep. I mean,
just incredible.
yeah, no, 100%. So I'm really looking forward to that game. I think Princeton, will make it, it'll be a good game, but I think Creighton wins that game. Greg McDermott, he's been in this situation before. So
Oh
I'm going to take Creighton in this one. Just going to go in that one there. But how about that upset with FDU and Purdue? I mean, that was crazy. Second time in tournament history that
yeah.
we've had a one seed beat it, or excuse me, a 16 seed beat a one seed. I mean, that was crazy. The first one was in 2018 when obviously UMBC beat Virginia, and then
Yeah.
obviously Virginia just lost to Furman in the first round. So, but there's just been so many upsets this tournament.
Yeah, this has been a crazy one. I also didn't have Purdue going that far either, but not again, like what you said,
Right.
not immediately. And I think because I was actually on my way, I was binge watching all the games except I only caught the first half of Purdue and
Mhm.
FDU because I was on my way to the Ducks game that my friend got me tickets for. So I thought, okay. So I kept watching on my phone while my dad was driving, and
Yeah.
I saw, oh, Purdue is looking not so good. They weren't already looking great in the first half to begin with, but then they caught up and they were essentially they had a small lead right before I left. And then I saw, I'm like, okay, I don't think this is gonna last. And I think the issue was because as someone who watched Big East quite a bit because of Fox rights,
Mhm.
Zach Edey is just a beast. But when you take him away, and they did a great job with that,
They did.
the guards didn't really their backcourt struggled, and they tend to struggle. That they're, in my opinion, it's not a knock on them, but they're a system team to where they only just rely on the sub that part, and
Mhm.
they can't really adjust to other ones. And I think that was just great coaching by FDU as well. And it's not because when you on paper you see Zach Edey 7-3, 7-4, you're like, oh my shoot, how the hell are we gonna stop him? And this guy can shoot. And yes, those are the guys that you want to be careful with. But in basketball, someone who played not against a 7-footer, of course,
Right.
but it's a lot easier. It's easier to take away a big like that than people think. A lot of it is double teaming, and it's not your traditional double team as if you were double teaming, let's just say in the pros, a Devin Booker,
Yeah.
because you're not going to do that to a 7-footer. You just can't. He's too tall. So
Mhm.
what do? You have one person or one player, usually a post up front. Sometimes you may have it on the side, and then you have a second one as a help defender, probably behind, or sometimes on the side. And if they do a high low, then you can kind of get away with that. And I noticed FDU did a great job with that. And
Yeah, they really did, and I thought Tobin Anderson did a great job with FDU, and obviously they did just lose to FAU, but what they had in the tournament, this spectacular run was amazing, and
exactly.
obviously he leaves FDU and he's going to Iona, taking over Rick Pitino's spot. But I mean, I just thought that, what FDU was able to do and just to beat Purdue. A lot of people weren't really high on Purdue. I mean,
Yeah.
you can never trust Purdue. It's just the one team. It drives you absolutely crazy because they were the one seed. They were, hitting on all cylinders all year. Then they get in the Big Ten tournament and they get in that close game with Penn State in the end. And you're like, how can we trust them? How can you really trust them? I didn't have them going past the Sweet 16. I thought they would beat at least, FDU, but clearly that
Yeah.
wasn't the case. So, but I mean, I thought it was, it was really crazy to sit back and go, Purdue couldn't beat a 16 seed. It's just crazy. I don't know. I mean, Purdue will be back. They definitely will be. Zach Edey returns. He comes back next year. They have a few other players that, can return as well. So, but yeah, so now Sweet 16, we're here. We got these games tomorrow. You got what games we got tomorrow?
So tomorrow, I have it right in front of me. So tomorrow, all the times I was saying are in Pacific time because I'm in LA.
Yeah,
but
right.
So first game that we have that tips off tomorrow's Thursday. Sorry.
Michigan State, Kansas State. Yep.
3:30
Arkansas,
p.m.
Uconn,
Yep.
FAU, Tennessee, Gonzaga, and UCLA.
That's gonna be a key one.
Yep.
That's the key one. 6:45 Pacific, and then Friday slate. The second half, we have San Diego State against Alabama, 3:30. Number 5 Miami versus number 1 Houston. That's going to be that. I actually had Miami upsetting Houston, but we'll see. Princeton go up against Creighton, as you just said, and then Xavier going up against the Longhorns out of UTA.
Yeah. So there is obviously that MSU Marquette game I did want to talk about before we move on to these games Thursday and Friday. But everyone's really, calling for Shaka Smart's head and, when he was at Texas, and now that he's at Marquette. But I mean, I thought he did a great job this season, getting them back to, relevancy in a way. And now, they're out of the tournament, but Michigan State's always a tough out. They always are. I mean, they were solid all year long. I mean, AJ Hogard, Tyson Walker. I mean, they're a very, very solid team, and they took it to Marquette. They really did. And Tom Izzo's known as Mr. March. So I don't know. I just thought that, there really isn't anything for Marquette fans and, Marquette to be, to be disappointed about. I don't really think so, if you ask me. Michigan State's always been a solid team. They're always one of those teams that comes into March and they're dangerous at all costs. They're coached very well by Tom Izzo. They're great on the defensive end. They're led by this year with Joey Hauser. He was, in Marquette, a couple of years ago, but Michigan State's tough. That they're going to be a tough out tomorrow against Kansas State.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I did expect the only reason why I had Marquette barely edging out of Michigan State was just because Marquette again just got hot at the right time.
They did.
And I thought they were going to carry that momentum. I mean, Tyler Kolek was on fire from behind the arc. Oh, you have also Ogadaro, who was just insane in the paint. And then obviously Olivier Maxence Prosper, who kind of struggled a little bit against Michigan State, but I still think it's still a big dub for Smart because no one anticipated Marquette to finish to win the Big East, let alone finish first in both the regular season and win the actual tournament. So I think with a lot of their guys coming back next season, assumingly, and again, we got the transfer portal. Transfer portals is huge now.
Huge.
Not just in college football, but basketball
massive.
Too. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, they're not. So there is one team I did want to talk about, and that's Kansas. Obviously, they did lose to Arkansas. I've rooted for Kansas for, years upon end. And, when I saw them playing Arkansas, they were up, I think it was 12 at halftime, or no, sorry, it was an 8-point lead at halftime, and then they blew that. But I just think there was more to that Kansas, game, and obviously against Arkansas. No, Bill Self was huge for them. He didn't, coach in the Big 12 tournament. He didn't coach in March Madness, and I really think they definitely missed him. Obviously, Norm Roberts, was doing the best he could. I really thought Kansas could honestly win it all. I really do. I mean, they were very solid all year long. Experienced. They got the freshman Grady Dick, recruited him. DeJuan Harris, Jalen Wilson. Kevin McCullough, the transfer from Texas Tech. I mean, they had all the pieces to go all the way, but when you don't have your coach like that, especially around March, especially this time of year, it's just a recipe for disaster. And you know, some
Yeah,
people were saying it wasn't because of Bill Self and they Arkansas outplayed them in the second half, but I mean, those late game free throws at the end for them too were just crucial, crucial. I had them going very, very far.
I did
So
too. They were my
clearly,
pick.
clearly that wasn't the case. Yeah, it was mine too. So clearly that wasn't the case. But like I said, disappointing end for Kansas. But you know, Eric Musselman, you know, they prevailed, and now they play Uconn. That's going to be a hell of a game against Danny
Yeah,
Hurley and Uconn. That's going to be a hell of a game. What are your
yeah.
thoughts on that game coming up?
And I think what's really, I mean, I think this is going to be a close game, that's what you said, but I think what
Mm-hmm.
really helps Arkansas's case is their defense.
Yep.
Their their defense is, they just know how to shift momentum. When I've noticed watching Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
and they made Musselman's squad made adjustments very quickly, and they were
They
able to
did.
shut down, especially that red hot, because Kansas has been red hot behind the arc too, and just shooting overall. And they were able, and once when you're able to get to stop that, especially making that halftime adjustment, and it's not a knock on Kansas coaching staff, but their coaching staff's been experienced. They're all head coaches, but it's not to
Yep.
the extent of Bill Self, to where some, and it's not a knock on them. It's like what you said, with no Bill Self, you don't have that body in it. And it's not that they're not playing, the players aren't playing for the other guys. Of course they are.
Mm-hmm.
It just hits differently when it's not your head honcho doing it. And I think Arkansas just really utilized it, and they just got hot too. I mean, Devo Davis was just a monster, and Ricky Council the fourth, Jordan Walsh on defense just shut down everything, especially at the perimeter.
And
So
I
if
did
they,
not expect that. I really didn't, to be honest
I
with you.
did
I
not.
did I didn't see that coming. I thought they would at least I thought Kansas would at least escape out of the Arkansas game, just, scathe out of there. But Arkansas had other plans in the second half.
Yeah. So if they could continue what they did with Kansas, because UConn is quick. UConn's also a very quick team. I think they'll be just fine, but it's good for the state of Connecticut as
What's
well.
your what's your pick, UConn or Arkansas?
I actually really need to look at my bracket, because I did not, like I said, obviously I had Kansas going all the way, but I think now that obviously that changed,
Mm-hmm.
I would say I think I'm actually gonna, I think Arkansas might. I have a feeling they may pull
You
this one
know,
off. It's tough, but
I'm with
because
you
you,
on that one too. I think I'm gonna have to take Arkansas in this one as well. UConn's a great team. I mean, some people have them going the Final Four, but I like Arkansas. The SEC has been great all year long. Arguably, they've been the best conference in college basketball. So I just have to go Arkansas in this one. I think they ride that momentum there. Get coming off that big win against Kansas. That is a huge win for them. Taking
mhm,
down obviously the number one seed. Kansas won the national championship last year. I'm going Arkansas. I think so. That's where I'm going with.
yeah, I think so too. But I expect it to go down the wire.
What about the FAU Tennessee game coming up? Rick Barnes been in this position before with Tennessee. Can they crack it? Can they get to the Elite Eight? Can they do it? This is the real question. Is this Tennessee team legit? Obviously, they're very experienced, with Vescovi and Plosick. I mean, they've been in this position before. Like I said, they're experienced, but can this team beat FAU? I mean, obviously they're the heavy favorites. There's really no excuse for this team to lose to FAU. FAU plays really fast. They don't play a lot of defense. They can get out in transition. They score the ball basketball very fast. They're a high flying type team. But what are your thoughts on this game coming up?
I think Tennessee has it, but as a caution, it I do have Tennessee advancing to the Elite Eight, but it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't shock me if they get upset,
It
because
wouldn't shock me either.
I've noticed, at least with them, I mean, losing Zakai was huge,
Yeah.
and but at least from, but Vescovi, for example, has stepped up. The team overall has stepped up,
Mm-hmm.
and but the issue I've noticed is, again, it's kind of the theme in all basketball. They're not good at free throws.
No.
FAU does foul a lot. I've noticed in the little that I've seen, they do foul quite a bit. Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily in a bad way. I mean, it also depends. the refs, now that you're going more further, they are letting them play a little more, so that could be a saver for attendance for the Vols. But offensively, they're not as efficient as I think they're a little above national average around the field goal percentage. So
Yep.
it's not they're not horrible by any means, but it's something that you got to pick up. Defensively, they are a good team. They are great on the glass, which will definitely help. But I think as long as they're good on the glass and they keep going and riding that momentum, and
There's somebody
yeah.
There's somebody I do want to talk about though for FAU, and that's John L. Davis. I've loved what he's done this tournament. Obviously, he's coming off a massive, 29-point performance against FDU. Like that game was, so back and forth, not a lot of defense. Both teams got out in great, transition, frequently. Well, wasn't an issue there for both offenses, to spark it up. But I like John L. Davis. I think he's going to give Tennessee an issue. I really do. I think he can lead this team to victory. And they are a 9 seed. They're not really, they're not a huge underdog. I mean, a lot of people thought, FAU coming to this tournament, they were just going to be a first round exit, but clearly that doesn't seem like the case. They could ride this momentum and they could definitely win. I don't see why they couldn't. I think they could be led by John L. Davis and bring it home. This is their first Sweet 16 in tournament history. It's, pretty spectacular. So it's cool to see a Florida team do this, and they're putting themselves on the map.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the underdog in FAU. I'm going Owls up.
I think I'll go with the Vols in this one, but again, this is going to be a go. This is going to come down to the wire.
Okay, so there's a game coming up, obviously. West Coast, UCLA, Gonzaga, rematch of the 2021 Final Four. You remember it. Jalen Suggs, the shot heard around the world, actually
that
recorded.
Still hurts.
I recorded that podcast. I think that was like a 4th or 5th episode on when we started this, and officially started as like the March Madness podcast. Then I changed it, but that game was spectacular. I don't expect anything less when these two teams play each other it's Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's Friday. Okay, so these two teams play Friday. Two great teams. Most people really haven't,
Actually, sorry, no, it's tomorrow.
Oh, it is tomorrow. Oh my goodness, I keep messing up. So it is tomorrow. It's not Friday then.
It's tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, so it's tomorrow. Okay, so Gonzaga, UCLA. These two teams know each other very well.
Yeah.
Drew Timme's been in this position before.
Yes.
Mick Cronin versus Mark Few. Mark Few's won multiple March Madness games. He's under his belt. Mick Cronin is looking to get this team back to where they were, 2 years ago, obviously in the Final Four. You're very familiar with UCLA. I personally think UCLA could win it all if they had Jaylen Clark. Obviously, they don't. They're led by Jaime Jaquez. He feels like he's been there for 100 years. Tiger Campbell. So, and then obviously Amari Bailey. He's starting to find his, comfort zone in this tournament. But this is such a toss-up. I think this is going to come down to coaching. These two teams know each other very well. This West Coast style of basketball. I'm torn in between. What are your thoughts, and who are you picking?
Oh, I mean, I'm not just being, I'm not going to be too biased here, but like I said, UCLA held it very close last year when they played them in the Final Four, or 2 years ago. I should say.
2021, yeah.
2021, 2 years ago. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
And it had to come down to a credible Jalen Suggs miraculous 3, which that stung a lot as a fan. And the difference is, I still think UCLA got, quote unquote, they're more experienced. I'm not saying compared to Gonzaga, I'm talking about UCLA from then and now. They pretty much have a majority of their starters back. They have that's pretty much a similar team, minus Peyton Watson and Clark's hurt. Losing Clark was huge. Bona's hurt, but this team I think is different. And what I really like about Cronin specifically is Cronin is one of those older. He's not old school, but he's all about that defense. And UCLA is just so tenacious on defense, and they have size, which is something TCU didn't really have against Gonzaga. So I'm not saying they're going to shut down Drew Timme, because it's very hard to do so, but I don't expect him to go off against this defense. I do expect it to be a close game for sure. I
Yeah, for
have you,
sure.
yeah.
Go
I
ahead. Yeah, go
mean,
ahead. What's your pick?
and I'm gonna have UCLA in this one just
Yeah.
because. But again, I only have them winning probably by like well 3 or 4 because
Yeah.
they have the resource. UCLA just has the bench and the squad to help Tiger and Jaime Jaquez that they
I think
didn't.
this I think this game comes down to the wire just like last time in 2021. Maybe a different outcome. Obviously, UCLA could pull this off, but I'm going with UCLA as well. I like what Mick Cronin has done with this team all year long. Obviously, they're desperately, wanting this win for their fearless leader, arguably the best defensive player in the country this year in Jaylen Clark. So I like them to get this done and then move on to the Elite Eight, which will obviously be this weekend. So I'm taking
Yeah.
UCLA. I'm going Bruins as well. So that's exactly where I'm going with. So how about the San Diego State Alabama game? I'm not exactly, extremely familiar with San Diego State. I watched them throughout this tournament. They struggled with, Charleston a little bit there. They're starting to find their niche, but Brian Dutcher, head coach of them. He's, been spectacular for them all year. They've been, super slept on. This is their first Sweet 16 since three. I think it's it. They've been to the Big Dance 15 times. They've only made the Sweet 16 3 times. This being their third, so they haven't
Yes.
been in this situation a lot. This is a new thing for them, but they've been great all year long. I mean, I think they could really give Alabama fits. Now, Alabama's very talented, obviously led by Brandon Miller, Javon Quinterly. They're Nate Oates, so they're arguably the favorite to win it all. So, what are your thoughts
Mhm.
on the San Diego State Alabama game coming up? Two different types of teams: West
Yes.
Coast versus the South, SEC versus what is San Diego State
Mountain
Conference?
West.
They're in the Mountain West, yeah, because they're not in the Pac-12. Correct, yeah.
Mountain West.
So yeah, so they're in a very different type of conference. But like I said, the SEC has been amazing all year long. So who do you have?
So that one, so as you mentioned, that is the first game on Friday at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, four
Mm-hmm.
thirty Mountain Time, 5:30 Central. But got him right. All right. But I have Alabama winning this one,
Mm-hmm.
but don't sleep on San Diego State.
No,
And
I wouldn't
because
either.
San Diego State has been, in my opinion, one of the most underrated programs as of for decades
Yeah,
because everyone sleeps on them.
they do.
And
Nobody gives them enough respect.
San Diego State is just insane. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league. Darian Trammell is just incredible. Of is just incredible on both ends of the
Mm-hmm.
of the ball. Now, shooting wise, they do need to really pick it up. Matt Bradley is on fire, but and then you have again their defense. They just have a good stacked roster that can really. I'm not saying you're not going to shut down Brandon Miller, but their backcourt, I could see them
No.
giving Miller and company that trouble just because perimeter. I've noticed with San Diego State, they're, in my opinion, one of the best perimeter defensive teams.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
And if Alabama gets off to that slow start that did against Maryland this past weekend, they
yeah,
could be in a lot of trouble
they can.
because San Diego State, like you said, is a very good defensive team. If they can somehow shut down Brandon Miller, this Alabama team could be in trouble. Now, I think Alabama will still find their identity. I think this will be a close game in the first half, leading halfway into the second half. But I think Alabama wins this game by 5 or so points. But if
Yeah.
I'm betting, I would definitely take San Diego State to cover this game, and that might be kind of bold, but these types of games late in the tournament get very very tight knit and tight knitted, and it can really be anyone's guess. So another game I want to talk about coming up, obviously, as the Friday slate is Miami and Houston. Miami
Mhm.
dominated Indiana. Indiana was so focused on Trace Jackson Davis, obviously, Race Thompson there as well. They were trying
Yeah.
to feed Andrew Kopp, on the perimeter there, but Miami, man, they're just a great team. They really are. They're led by Nigel Pack and Isaiah Wong, and Larinaga. He's been there for a very long time now. They're a deep team. They did struggle against Drake. Obviously, that was a very first round tough, very very tough matchup for them first round. Now they sit here in the Sweet 16 facing Houston. So what do you think?
Houston, we have a problem. Nothing against Houston, because what Calvin Sampson has done for that program is just amazing,
Spectacular.
incredible.
Yeah.
And what concerns me about, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know Marcus Sasser has been hurt for a bit. I know he's back, but
Yeah.
I've noticed he's still kind of nursing that a little bit.
Yeah, he's not 100%. And then you got, Jamal.
Groin injuries are
Yep,
no
no.
joke.
You got Jamal Shed. He was
Yeah,
supposedly banged up in the first round as well with a little bit of a knee injury
his
there.
knee, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I do like their big man there, Jawan Roberts. He's been, a force on the glass this tournament, but I don't know. This game is going to be such a toss up. I feel like I think Miami's going to give them with all they have. They have two great guards, and they've
Yeah.
got a little bit of a bench there too. So I don't know. These two guards with Shed and Sasser versus Wong and Miller, or excuse me, with Pack, and then you also have Miller off the bench there. Oof, I don't know. This game is such a toss up. Houston's favored by 7 points.
I
Oh,
would
that's
take.
such
I
a.
know
I
this is
feel
not
like
a
that's a
gambling
lot.
show, but
No, it's not.
those who happen to think of gambling, now that you just mentioned the spread,
Yeah.
do not take that money. Right? Do plus. Don't take
when when
-7.
you look at I did bet for quite some time, and then I stopped because it got so darn addicting. But when you look at
Yes.
the lines and stuff, you look at you first reaction is you're going to take the underdog, especially in these type of games with these two great coaches. These teams have been in this situation before. They're both very experienced. Houston is looking to get to the Final Four. Obviously they're desperate. Final Four is in Houston this year. They
Yeah.
want to get there so bad, but Miami might have other plans. I mean, they're tough. They really are. Like I said, that first round matchup was tough for them, but they handled business with Indiana. Don't sleep on Miami.
Yeah. I'm
I'm
still
t-
gonna
I'm
have
I'm
Houston. I still have
I'm
picked
gonna take
Houston.
I'm gonna take Miami. I'm gonna take them as the underdog, and I think they get this done and they get to the Elite Eight. They lost in the Elite Eight last year to. Oh no, I'm sorry. They go to the Elite Eight last year because they played Auburn
Yes.
last year
They
and
played Auburn and they
they beat
lost.
Auburn.
Yes.
No, they beat Auburn,
Oh no,
didn't
they
they?
beat them. Yeah, they did.
But that was the Sweet 16, right? Because they didn't make it to
Yeah,
the Final
Auburn
Four.
was the higher seed.
Yes, because they got bounced in the Elite Eight, but I don't know what team it was they got bounced to last year. I don't remember that. But I know they didn't obviously make it to the Final Four. I know they got bounced in the Elite Eight because they beat Auburn in the Sweet 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's going to be a hell of a game. You have
Ugh, man. I think. Oof. This is
you have
tough.
Houston.
I know I have Houston, but now that I think about Omie, they're big. They
Not or
use big
Norchad Omir.
Omir. He
He's
can
been
give
good.
he can give Houston's big some challenges too, but
Oh,
I just
I
think
can't wait for that game.
defensively, this is gonna be my favorite game besides UCLA, of course. But
Oh, of course. Yeah.
so
I
yeah,
just think that's
Houston
going to
barely.
be I think it's going to be a great game obviously overall, but
If Houston
oh.
does move on, I have them
Mhm.
losing to Texas. Texas should have been a 1 seed.
Oh, really? You think so?
Yes. Not
They did.
Purdue.
Yeah, well, I mean that's definitely a conversation, opener there for sure. But all right, so how about let's talk about this Texas and Xavier game. Sean Miller, Rodney Terry. Rodney Terry took over for Texas, obviously, when the whole Chris Beard stuff back in
Yeah.
January. He's got them right in a great spot, obviously, against Xavier. They're actually favored in this game. Serge Barry Rice, Dylan Dusu has been spectacular this tournament. Oh my goodness, that game he had against Penn State, I think he finished with 29 points. I mean, oof, this is going to be such a great game. And then on the other side of the coin with Xavier, you got Jack Nungy, you have Adam Kunkel there, and they have Sully Boom. Oh, Sean Miller's got them, back in contention here. Oh, I have
Oh
no
man.
clue. This
This
is
is
going to
gonna be
be
a good one.
such a toss up. This is going to be such a great game. Xavier versus Texas, Big 12 versus Big East. Oh, I have my hand on my head thinking, what is going to happen in this game? What
Yeah. Ugh.
do you think? Who do you have? And oh, it's going to be such a toss up.
This I think is also a toss up. I think really I can argue all these games are gonna be toss ups, but
This one especially though, 2 versus 3 in the Sweet 16.
mhm. Now Xavier is very resilient. I mean, I thought they almost blew it against Kennesaw State,
Kennesaw. So did I.
but no, they fought. And like you said, with Boom and Kunkel, like you can't teach that heart. You can teach how to shoot. You can teach how to rebound. You can teach how to pass well. You
Right.
can't teach tenacity and heart, and that's what they have.
No. I'm going with Texas in this game. I think they
Yeah.
are the better team. I think they're riding this hot wave here. They're, have some fire under their feet after, demolishing Kansas and the Big 12 tournament. They won the Big 12 tournament. They didn't win the regular season in the Big 12. Obviously, Kansas did, but I think they're playing with some momentum right now. That's a big win against Penn State there. I'm not a big fan of Big East teams. I'm really not. Obviously, you just saw Marquette lose. I'm not extremely high on Xavier. I know a lot of people are, but I think they go home this weekend, and I think Texas gets it done.
Yeah, I agree. And Marcus Carr's been on fire too. So
Yeah, he
he's due.
has.
He's
Texas
due.
is Texas is very, very good. They're very solid on both sides of the ball. They have length. They have two, good guards in Serge Rice and, like you said, Marcus Carr. So this team they're looking for a deep run. I think they can definitely beat this Xavier team. I mean,
I
they're the
agree.
favorite. I don't see why they could. I mean, anything's crazy and anything can happen in March, but
Yeah.
I'm going with Texas in this one. So you have
Likewise.
Texas as well. All right, so we didn't get a chance to talk about this on last time's pod, but I do watch a lot of TV shows, and I wanted to talk to you about this and see just your thoughts and stuff. So I did end up finishing Netflix season 4. Have you watched that show?
I have, but I haven't seen the last season.
Okay, so this new season's really good. I won't spoil anything, but
Okay.
oof, there's so many ups and downs and twists and turns. That's all I'll say. When you
Okay.
get a chance to watch it, it is really, really good. Penn Badgley plays an amazing role this season. It's filmed in Paris, in that area, and oof, I mean he's back to his crazy ways. But that's the one on my radar there. I started watching Ted Lasso season 3, episode 1. I haven't watched episode 2. Do you watch that show?
I've been so behind on TV, but I've seen a little bit of Ted Lasso, and yes,
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I just need to catch up.
So I watch so much TV show. Well, right now I've been watching so many TV shows because I really can't go anywhere. So I've just been home nursing this foot. So, which is getting better. But now I've just been watching so many TV shows. But Ted Lasso, I have to watch episode 2. I haven't gotten there yet. I watched episode 1. I won't spoil anything for you since you haven't seen it. But there's another show that I started watching, and that's called Shrinking on Apple TV. Have you heard of it?
I don't think I have.
So it's basically about a therapist, Jason Segel, the actor. He goes through so many ups and downs in his life and situation with his ex-wife. I'm only watched the first episode, but there's just so much to unpack. In the first episode, there's just a lot that has gone on. But if you get a chance to watch that, that's also a really good show. The last show that I did finish, I watched one. I binge watched all 3 seasons in the weekend while I been home. Emily in Paris. I watched every single episode. They're only like 35-minute episodes, but I ended up watching all of it, 3 seasons. But that's another one I've been watching. So those are my TV shows that I've been watching as of late. And then obviously I did finish The Last of Us. Do you watch that as well?
No, I have not. I've heard of the talk. I've been so busy
I
the
know,
last
yeah.
couple weeks. But
when you get a chance, there was 9 episodes. I was a little disappointed with the season finale, but that show was spectacular. It's obviously based off the video game, but it's still a really good show. And when you get a chance, you got to check it out. I was disappointed because they said they're probably not going to be bringing season 2 out until late 2024, early 2025. So I was like, damn, that's a long time from now to wait. And you only got 9 episodes. We didn't even get 10. So, but that's a little bit about my TV shows. How about the NFL though? Somebody joined the Raiders, Jimmy G. What are your thoughts?
So all the females who, if again, I've texted you this already, but if y'all tell, I'm gonna say it live here. If y'all tell me, hey, it's okay, you have a win, you have the hottest, best looking quarterback in the league, chill out. No.
Oh gosh, this is so funny.
Yes, we do. But he would be a lot hotter if he actually wins some ball games for us.
And he might.
He should. I mean, In terms of the move itself, I mean, that was the best they could get because I mean, no, Rogers was just impossible. I'm glad they didn't get after they
Yeah,
didn't
thank
go him.
goodness.
I'm so glad they didn't get him. And then Brady retired. I
Yeah.
do Jimmy G's not terrible, so at least by addressing that, they don't have the pressure to draft a quarterback in the first round. At least they do need to go get somebody. Maybe
Do you think they'll still draft a QB in the first round though? The Raiders, I still think they will. I talked about this on the pod
I
last
don't
week.
know.
I think they did. Obviously, they signed Jimmy G, and now I think they'll still pick a quarterback with. They have the
The
seventh
seventh.
pick. Yeah,
It
so
wouldn't shock me,
it wouldn't shock me
but
either.
it wouldn't shock me. But if I'm them, I don't know if I would because at least with the number one pick, I mean, sorry, not the number one pick, a
Seventh
top
pick.
10
Yeah,
picks, yeah, top 10
yeah,
pick in the first round. Obviously, everyone's case is kind of different, but you
yeah.
expect them to start. Now, obviously, now if you're a team like Seattle, because Seattle's going to be interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
know, and they're in a similar boat, at least at QB, except they extended Geno. So
Yeah.
Seattle could turn around and draft a quarterback,
Yeah, that's what I was
and that
saying too.
leaves the Raiders. That's why they have all these picks. When they have at least 10, 11 picks in the, I think 12 actually in the draft, my
Yeah.
I there's no way they're going to keep 12 rookies.
No.
So my thing is they're either going to trade for somebody else because they still can, or they're going to trade up.
All
And
right.
it
So
obviously,
on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling about the Jimmy G signing?
I mean, I would say a 5.5 because
Oh,
again, he's
that's
not
kind of
horrible.
low.
It's a little low. I mean,
You're disappointed.
I'm disappointed. I mean, I'm not against it because again, they had to get somebody, but at the same time, if you're gonna get, I'm like 50-50. So I didn't want him. I didn't want us to settle the Jimmy G, but at the same time, if you're
It's
gonna
better
get
than nothing.
somebody, it's exactly better than nothing. And it's not like I mean, they've always been rebuilding, quote unquote, but
Yeah.
it's not like they have literally nobody on the team, or if they're in a position, they still have a decent
Hmm.
offense. I know they traded away Waller, but they still
Yeah.
have a
What did you
decent.
think about what did you think about the Waller trade for a third round pick?
It was honestly, it's the right move to trade him. I just didn't like the compensation they received. They could have at least gotten a second rounder.
For a third too. I was just shocked when they did that. I did not. I don't think anybody expected that. I was really blown away when I saw that. I
Yeah,
was like, for a third. I
yeah,
was like, I was just saying, oh, Jimmy G's gonna have a slew of weapons with Waller, Renfro, and Adams, and then you got Jacobs in the backfield. Then obviously this past week they signed Jacoby Myers. That whole situation there. So, but I just was really shocked when they traded Waller. I mean, I thought he was a really big focal point of their offense. Obviously, you're a Raiders fan. He hasn't been able to stay healthy these past 2 seasons, but the
yeah,
previous two before that, woo, he was very very good. I mean, like I said, I think when healthy, he's a top four tight end in the NFL. I really do.
yeah. I agree.
So I want to talk about Austin Ekeler, this whole situation with him. He's coming out basically. He was on a podcast and he said, "I'm so underpaid right now." So what do you think of that?
I mean, he's not wrong. So he is underpaid, but I can see where the Chargers
Hmm.
are in the kind of, I won't say right, but I can see their point because it goes back to the Raiders a little bit. I'm not obviously it's the franchise tagging period is a little late for that, a
Right.
little late. But the thing with Eckler, it's typical nowadays with running backs because running backs have such a short shelf life.
They
And
do, and
because
that's the thing. I mean, look at
so it's
Todd
tough.
Gurley. Look at Todd
Exactly.
Gurley. Now Ezekiel just got cut. And I had this debate with my friend a couple weeks ago, actually going back probably about 2 months ago now, about running backs and should teams pay them and stuff. And obviously the exception is Christian McCaffrey because he does everything for your offense. And
Hmm.
maybe Alvin Kamara is an exception as well. But other than that, really, and I guess you could say Saquon Barkley, but really there's only two or three. But everyone else outside of that, I mean, the Zeke contract, he got cut. And then what? The Chargers are going to give Zeke or Austin Eckler all this money when they can't even afford him. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just
Yeah.
I'm not sold on paying him obviously, but the other side of the coin is he's been a huge part of their offense as well.
Yes.
I want to read you these stats. In 2021, he led the NFL with 20 total touchdowns. He rushed for 911 yards, caught 70 passes for 647 yards. Then this season, following up with that, he had 18 total touchdowns, rushed for a career high 915 yards, and caught a career high 107 passes for 722 yards. So there's no, situation there where he's not the focal point of their offense. I mean, he's a major part of their offense, but I think he wants in that 15 to 18 million dollar range. I think he's on the books for, I think it's 11, 12 million. And, but I mean, he's pushing it. I don't know. I mean, he wants to trade. He wants a trade. He wants to request it. He's requested a trade. I don't know where he would go looking around the NFL for running backs. I don't know where he would go. I really don't, because if you're looking at the league, every team looks like they have their running back. So I think he might be stuck for this season. He has to ride it out. Maybe they trade him next year, but that's not good going into this upcoming season as your star running back wants to be traded.
Yeah, this is a tricky situation for
Very.
the Chargers.
Like I said, running backs are just been getting, cut, and they're dime a dozen now. You can draft running backs, and that's the thing. Like you said, their shelf life doesn't last very long anymore. I mean, point proven there with, Zeke Elliott. He was on the books for, I think it was 15 million, and they cut him. So I'm sure the Titans might, if they, don't trade Derrick Henry next season. I don't know. They said they're not going to trade him this year, but next season he might be getting cut. If he's not a free agent, because he's on the books for a hefty mighty deal there.
Yeah.
So, but the NBA, let's talk a little bit about that. Ja Morant's officially back.
Yeah.
About time, right? Did you see? I'm sure. I know you saw the Issa parade inside my city.
Yeah.
I was dying when I saw that. I was like, did he learn anything? But then they showed clips prior to him saying that, like weeks prior. So it's not like it's a new thing he said. That he was quoting NBA Youngboy, but it was pretty funny that he did do that. I mean, a little humor on that side of the coin.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. So I know you saw the Paul George thing last night, how he got hurt with bumped knees with Lou Dort. The Clippers were just starting to, find their stride. They were 5 games over 500 in the West. They were just starting to, creep up the standings in the West there. They're well out of the play-in now. They're out of that 6th spot. So like I said, they were 5 games over, but then the Paul George injury happened. He's supposedly going to be out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
It's tough.
2-3 weeks.
They could slip. I mean, there's only 9 after tonight. There's 9 games left. The Lakers are playing right now, actually.
Yikes.
So that was huge. Obviously, Kawhi's going to have to carry the load there, and for 9 more games, I guess. Hopefully, Paul George comes back though for the playoffs. You really hope to see him, because he was having a great year, another All-Star year for him. He had that sweet 360 dunk last night.
Oh yeah, I saw that too, and worse, it's just bad timing, because like as you said, the Clippers are finding their stride, and they are a legitimate threat.
They are. They really are. 100%.
So he's supposed to be out probably a couple of weeks. I mean, bumping knees is not fun, in my experience.
No.
but we'll see.
One thing I do want to say though is it's nice in the past, couple days and last week we haven't really heard anything about Russell Westbrook and the slander with him. It's just the Clippers just seem like they're playing normal basketball. It's nice to see that you don't have to hear so much about Russ on social media, even from Lakers fans, even from NBA fans, just over social media. It's just nice to know that, okay, Russ can breathe, I feel like, in a way. And the Clippers have also been winning too. I think that's also another part of it as well. I mean, they lost to the Thunder last night, 100, 101 to 100. Ooh, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a hell of a game again.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, he's just been lights out this year. And I was giving him some slack to one of my buddies about a month or 2 ago, and he's exceeded all expectations from me. He is the future of the NBA. He's just, spectacular, if you ask me. I think if you put him on a contender,
SGA is just a monster.
I mean, he's 4th in the NBA in scoring this year. He's right around 31 points a game. 51 total, percent or 51% from the field. He's led the Thunder into the 7th spot now in the West. Nobody thought that. I mean, I know they have a few other young pieces, but he's the focal point of that team. But that they've been spectacular because of him. So, who do you think will miss the NBA play-in? Lakers, Pelicans, both, or neither?
Oh,
you're laughing. This is funny. because both of these two teams are in the same exact spot, just about. Lakers are the 11 now.
Oh my God. I mean, on paper, definitely the Pelicans, but I mean, thankfully the Lakers have a tiebreaker, but in this situation, it doesn't also
Mm-hmm.
mean much in a way.
No,
But um,
you're torn. I can
I'm
tell.
torn because I know Pelicans are gonna miss it. I know, but I don't see the Pelicans really doing. They have a hard schedule. Zion's Zion's done. Bi's been
Yeah.
out. I just don't see the Pelicans really doing too much.
Which
So
is
I
which is
have them
such a
out.
disappointment, honestly, if you ask me, because
Yeah.
they were the weren't they the 2 seed at one point in the West? They were
In the
actually the
beginning,
in the
yeah.
beginning they were the 1 seed at one point, like months ago. I know that was a long time ago, I'm pretty sure, but then Brandon Ingram got hurt, Zion got hurt, McCollum had to carry the load there. Brandon Ingram's officially back now, but no Zion again, which has been extremely disappointing. That's a topic for another day, but
Yeah.
I'm going with you. I think the Pelicans will miss it as well. I think the Lakers will just squeak in. I think they've got a tough few games coming up here. They're playing the Suns. They got the Bulls twice. They're not going to be easy. The Clippers one more time. They have the Kings, the Jazz. They have the Thunder one more time. The Clippers. I think they have a couple more games after that. That rounds it out right there. So it's going to be tough for them. It really is. So.
Yeah, I
And
think
AD
the
can't play
Lakers
back to
do.
backs. That's another thing too. AD can't play back to back, so that's really frustrating as well. Hopefully they figure that out here in the next week or so, because they're going to need him. And if everything comes back to bite them because of that Rockets game, there's
Yeah.
going to be all hell's going to break loose in LA because of that Rockets game. I mean, that really could come back to bite them.
That one and for sure the Maps game.
Yeah, the buzzer beater. I don't even really want to talk about that. That one was just crazy. I mean, they
That
had that game in the
was
they
because
had
I
that
was
game in the
hurt.
they had that game in the bag in the fourth quarter. They really did. And then at the end there, oh, that was a gut wrencher right there. That was really a stomach
Yeah.
puncher. So,
Ugh.
but moving on to the Celtics, though, I want to talk about them. How about the
Hmm.
Celtics being the only team in the NBA with a top 5 offense and top 5 defense this season? Now they've been slipping as of late. They're starting to find themselves again here. Tatum just passed Larry Bird for the most 30 points per games, and in Celtics history for the season. So, but I don't know. They've been toying with that first seed. They were the first seed for a while there, and then the Bucks took it over. And now the Sixers are the 1 seed. Don't sleep on the Sixers. And let's see what they can do
Yeah.
come playoff time if they're not going to be another second round exit. But Jaylen Brown, this is a big discussion here. He said he's uncertain about his future with the Celtics.
Yep, I saw that.
I thought this was really weird. I will stay where I'm needed and treated correct. He's under contract for one more year after the season and becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2024. Now, I think this really goes back to the time when they, said they wanted Kevin Durant, this, trade deadline, and then this past summer. I think this really, was hitting him hard, and he's seeing out, what's best for me. I don't know. I just think that, this is really taking a toll on him, and obviously he's been there since 2016. Him and Tatum have been arguably the best duo in the NBA this season. You can say, Harden and Embiid over the past few seasons, it's definitely, been them if they're not number one. But I don't know. I just think when a superstar like this, Jaylen Brown, says this, I would consider Jaylen Brown a superstar. But when he says something like this, I will stay where I'm needed and treated correct. I think that's weird. What do you think?
Yeah, I saw that too, quote, because he told the Rangers Logan Murdoch about this. He's like, yeah, what you said. This is the
Yeah,
full quote. Continuing off what you said, quote, we'll see how they feel about me over time, and I feel about them over time. Hopefully, whatever it is, it makes sense, but I will stay where I'm wanted. I will stay where I'm needed and treated correct, close quote. Yeah, like what you said.
it just
I don't know,
doesn't
little
make any
cryptic,
sense.
little
It, it
cryptic.
it doesn't make any sense, because when you sit there and you're like, what Jaylen Brown means to the Celtics team, and you don't get a player like Jaylen Brown in the draft. You don't. And then I saw
No,
some things where, oh, should they trade him, or
no,
should they trade him and see what they can get in return? Or should they keep him and assign him to an extension? You're going to do whatever you're going to do whatever
sign
it
him.
takes as a Celtics GM, Celtics ownership, to keep Jaylen Brown. If whatever you have to do to keep Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum together, that is your chance. That's your only chance to win an NBA championship. You let
Exactly.
Jaylen Brown go, the keys are gone. You're floating in the streets of Boston looking for, coffee, seeing where you're at, because you're not going anywhere without those two. If you lose Jaylen Brown, And no, they can't do that. There's no way he leaves. There's no way the Celtics even let him leave. Boston fans, Boston sports, they're all about their star players, of course, and
Yeah.
bringing championships to that city. And
Hmm.
the Bruins have been, spectacular this season. The
Yeah.
Patriots are just probably going to come out from under the mud, see what they can do. The Red Sox in the previous years, the Celtics obviously now here with Jaylen Brown. So there's no way you can let him go. You do whatever it
Hmm.
takes. And
Exactly.
I also don't understand why he would say this at the midpoint of the NBA mark of this midpoint at the end of the NBA season. I just think it's so weird coming into the playoffs.
Yeah. The timing is weird
It's just a
indeed.
weird thing to say.
Because usually with front offices, I know obviously with Brad Stevens and company, they're gonna have contract talks. I mean, the timing, like you said, is very weird, strange. But
Yeah,
typically this is when the time happens when it's like, hey, Jaylen, his age or whoever, clutch or not clutch, but so forth. Hey, we're gonna discuss about contracts. But usually that's done, I wouldn't say after the season. That's usually done either after the season or early on, not really when playoffs are going to start in about a couple weeks. So I think
right.
that's, like you said, that's odd timing. But or if he was going to just brush it off as if we'll get there when we get there. I want to focus on one thing. How does the locker room feel? Because
Yeah,
and nothing
exactly.
again, maybe it not be against Jaylen himself, but it may be like, okay, we're getting in there. We want to play. We want to win for
Yeah,
Boston. But what's the certainty that we may not have our guy next year? I mean, sure, you can argue that it's Tatum's team, which on paper it is, but in my
yeah,
opinion, it's not on Tatum. Tatum's amazing. Brown
yeah,
is the caliber. Marcus Smart is the heart and soul because of that tenacity in his defense. But Jaylen Brown is what keeps this team together because of how efficient he is. He has urge, that urge and that passion, that fear that Tatum just kind of doesn't really have. And I know it's their age, but still,
you
he
know,
didn't show much against the Warriors. Jaylen was the one who had to go over that hump, and then and of course, it's hard to outcoach Steve
I'm
Kerr, who's
I'm I'm glad you brought this up too, and I appreciate that because I think, for me, maybe this is a little far fetched, but I think this goes back to the All-Star game when Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum played against each other. And I
mm,
know maybe it's just a miscellaneous type of game, but when you sit there and you think, am I Jaylen Brown has that like Mamba mentality, that Kobe mentality, that dog
yeah,
mentality of like, I'm better than you. I feel like I'm the best player on the court. And he's even said that in interviews before. Maybe he thinks that I'm better than Jason Tatum and I can prove myself on the open market on
mm-hmm,
on a contender, and I can leave Boston and I could really be the number one guy because I'm
mm-hmm,
never going to be the number one guy with Jason Tatum here.
no,
Maybe he wants to lead his own team. Maybe that's also the other side of the coin. And he thinks that, and also I think too is maybe he also thinks that I'm underappreciated in Boston. They don't appreciate me. They would rather have somebody like Kevin Durant and pair up with Jason Tatum, and I can go elsewhere. And I do
mm-hmm,
think that is a slap in the face to him because he's been, this is obviously this is his best season all year long statistically. He's averaging 26.7 points, 6.9 rebounds, 1.2 steals, and 60 games, as well as 3.4 assists, two and a half threes made, and he's also shooting a career best 49%. So if you sit there and you think, and you're in his shoes, well, I can do this on another team as the number one guy. Why do I need to be here, be second fiddle to Jason Tatum when I can be the first guy on another team and show and prove myself? I've already proved myself in the NBA. What else do I have to do for the Celtics team?
mm-hmm.
So that's where I'll leave it.
That's a good point.
But I saw this too. What college team has the best NBA talent? Read the team names here for you: Duke, UCLA, Texas, and Kentucky. Now I'm a little surprised Kansas didn't make it on there. Did a little bit of research. Duke, the list goes on. Kentucky, the list goes on. But Texas, Kevin Durant, Mo Bamba, where Jackson Hayes. I don't understand why Texas would be on there.
Are they talking
What,
about like the current rosters or just
uh,
history?
I think they're. I think it's a little bit of both. But even in recent though, Texas. What?
Yeah,
I thought that was a little weird there. I don't know if you ask me, but I mean Duke and Kentucky obviously clear, of course, but minus Texas and Kentucky. I guess you could say UCLA too. Duke and Kentucky. Who do you think has? the better NBA talent. Let's just say now. Let's not go back in time. Let's just say right now, Duke and Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Now, if we're talking about now, we're talking about current rosters or like current players in the NBA within the
Current play.
last several years.
Let's just say current players in the NBA in the last several years.
Okay. Um. Ooh.
I think you'd have to go Kentucky.
I would say I'm thinking a little bit of that's why. I will give Kentucky an edge, and the reason is just because we historically, even the last few years, Duke's had a lot of products, but a few of them, there's been a few lately that have not really panned out.
I don't know. Now
So
that I'm thinking about it, that is such a debate. It really is. I mean, you could talk about that for hours. You got
exactly,
Duke with Kyrie, Jason Tatum, Zion, Brandon Ingram. And then on the other side, you got Kentucky. You got Bam. You got Tyler Hero, Booker,
Booker,
uh, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis.
AD. Mm-hmm.
And then you could keep going. Then on the other side of Duke, you can still keep going. Obviously, JJ Redick there, Kyrie. Who I mean, there's plenty of other guys there as well. I mean, there's so many. I think the list just keeps going and going and going. There's way
Mm-hmm.
more. I'm forgetting them, but I know there's more there. So I don't know. Maybe Kentucky does edge it out, though. I mean, if you just keep going back and back and back, you might Kentucky may be number one when you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know. I think, and then yeah, obviously you got Towns, you got Anthony Davis,
Jamal Murray,
Booker, Jamal Murray. Yep,
Julius Randle,
Julius Randle, Emmanuel Quickly's another guy. He's starting to come into
quickly.
his own there as well.
Boogie. I know he's not in the league, but
DeMarcus isn't anymore. John Wall, Rajon Rondo.
Shaded
Uh,
Sharp.
yeah, he didn't really. He never got a chance to really play with Kentucky though because he just
No,
was so ready for the league. He was kind of
he
basically
didn't need
another.
to.
He was really a one and done guy.
Yeah.
But Duke, there's some more guys there. Who else is there? I know there's more.
I
You
mean,
got you got Jason Tatum, you got Kyrie Irving, you got JJ Redick, you got Brandon
honestly, you
Ingram,
have Caro
Zion,
as of last season.
Paulo Banchero. That's another guy there.
RJ
Uh,
Barrett. You have RJ
RJ
Barrett.
Barrett's another guy
The
there.
Plum
There's the Plumley,
The
Mason and
Plumleys.
Mason, Marshall, and Miles.
Yeah.
You
Kennard.
yep, Luke Kennard's another guy.
Seth.
Um,
Seth Curry.
Seth Curry's another guy. Yeah, but there's who else is there though? There's more.
Uh I mean you have Marvin Bagley who hasn't really panned out, who's
No, he's doing
been
okay for the
he's
Pistons. He's
okay-ish.
he's doing okay for the Pistons now, but man,
Um
I can't think of any more. There's so
Ty
many. Ty, Tyus
Tyus.
Tyus Jones for the Grizzlies, and you got
Not Trey Jones. Yeah.
Trey Jones for the Spurs. Those two guys
The
right
Jones
there.
brothers. I mean,
Yep.
Grayson Allen, everyone's favorite
Grayson
player.
Allen for the Bucks, everyone's favorite player there. Yep, as well. Um, I think that's
Cam Reddish,
yeah, he's on the Blazers now. He
the
hasn't really.
Blazers.
He's just kind
Yeah,
of it stinks
he's
for
kind of
him. He
there.
seems like a AJ Griffin for the Hawks. He's
Griffin.
new. Yep. There's I think that's it. There's
Obviously, Zion, who's a one and
yeah,
done. But
said Zion. Yeah, there's somebody though for that the Hawks drafted. I can't think of his name. What's his name? Can you look him up for me? He was supposed to be
oh,
much better. I can't think of his
oh,
name. He's
Jalen
not tip.
Johnson.
Yes, Jalen Johnson. That's him. Jalen Johnson. Yep. He hasn't really panned out those, but I think maybe he went a little too early too. But then on the
Yeah,
Kentucky side of the coin, you have you can name them. You got DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, uh, uh,
you had Malik Monk,
Rondo, Malik Monk's another guy there. De'Aaron Fox, that's another
De'Aaron
guy there
Fox.
because him and Monk were teammates there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's just been so many. How about let's talk about UCLA though? I mean, obviously, I think Kentucky and Duke definitely clear, but UCLA, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Love, going way back in time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Elgin Baylor
Kareem.
was Elgin Baylor was UCLA, wasn't he?
Yes.
Gail Goodrich, that's Alonzo Ball, Zach
Also,
Levine, the Holiday brothers. Uh, who else is there?
you have
Reggie Miller,
obviously Reggie
Mark
Miller. Yeah.
Eaton. Yeah, Mark Eaton, Reggie
Norman
Miller.
Powell, Zach Levine.
I said Zach Levine. Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
Kentucky, Carl Anthony Towns. I think I already said him
Cat.
though.
Yeah, he's a cat.
Yeah. So, but for me, like I said, I'm going with Kentucky.
Yeah,
You taking Duke or Kentucky?
I would say Kentucky.
Yeah, I think so too. Uh, Imagine an all-time Kentucky team NBA.
Wow.
I remember I did this last year with a friend. We did like college teams, like all NBA teams. UNC was stacked too. That's another team. They could also
UNC.
be
Oh, UNC. Yes.
UNC could be on there as well.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, Vince Carter, uh who else is there? There's so many more names. They have so many. Kenny Smith's another guy.
Kenny
I mean,
Smith.
Kenny Smith. Um there's more. There's
You
more.
have James Worthy if you go back.
James Worthy, if you go way back, yeah. In
Mhm.
recent years, though, for UNC, they really haven't had any big guys pan out as of late, though. Not that I remember, because
No.
Marcus Page never panned out, Bryce Johnson never panned out. Those were their big tournament guys years ago. Those two guys were fun to watch at UNC. Um, who else is there from
Wait,
UNC?
Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's starting to find his own in Brooklyn. That's the guy right there, I guess, in recent times. So I did mess that one up there. So yeah, Cam Johnson in Brooklyn there. He's starting to find his own, which is nice to see because he's a pure bucket. Who else is there? Tyler Hansbrough, but he never really did much in the
yeah.
NBA.
Amazing, amazing in college.
Amazing college player. Um,
Cole Anthony's for
yeah, Cole
Magic.
Anthony, which is weird. Yeah, because weird. I mean, he comes off the bench now. I mean, he's still a bucket though. Cole Anthony
He's still
though.
good.
Yeah. Who else is there? Uh,
Uh,
you probably have the
Harrison
list.
Barnes. Actually, Harrison
Harrison
Barnes.
Barnes, yeah, he's been solid his whole time in the NBA, obviously with that Warriors team, and now he's been with the Kings for the past few seasons. So, but I still think
Uh,
Duke and Kentucky
yeah.
clears. I could
Reggie Bullock.
Reggie Bullock for the Mavs
The Mavs.
there, but yeah, I don't know. I would have to go with Kentucky and Duke. I think
Yes.
so too.
Yeah.
Is there any other college teams that you think of? I mean, for me, I mean, obviously, if we're gonna go back in time too, Kansas, Wilt Chamberlain, Paul Pierce. And then recent
Kansas.
Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid. I mean Devonte Graham. He's not as good as those guys there. Um, who else is
Um,
who else do we got? We have
you can. I mean, maybe not to the this program. Maybe not to the
Devonte Graham, but
Devontae Graham.
not on the level of those not on the level of those guys there. On the levels of a Booker or a Towns or a
Yeah.
Cousins, guys like that.
I mean,
Anthony
yeah.
Davis for Kentucky.
AD, of course. I
Hmm.
mean, in terms of other programs, maybe not to the this one, not to the capacity of a Kentucky, Duke, UNC, or Kansas, but Villanova for sure.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, um, Josh Hart,
Josh Hart, DiVincenzo,
DiVincenzo,
Lowry, sorry.
Kyle Lowry. Yeah, my friend and I had this conversation this past weekend about what Jay Wright did for Villanova in his time there, and oh, I mean,
Amazing.
just a pure basketball fan watching what he did there and what these guys have been able to do in the NBA. Just learning from him, just was so crucial. I mean, look what Brunson's been doing for the Knicks this season. Don't even get me started about that. But yeah, the Villanova those days there, they've had some, good Mikal Bridges. I already said him though, didn't I? Yeah. But they've produced some good talent. Not I don't know about superstar talent, but very, very solid, maybe a tier below superstar talent. And just maybe those guys can be on that, trajectory in the near future. Who knows? Mikal Bridges could be on his way. If he continues this play in Brooklyn and he's the number one option there, he could be.
Yeah.
Maybe even be an all-star next year. So any other college teams that come to mind?
Um,
Kentucky, UCLA,
Kentucky,
Duke.
UCLA, obviously, Duke,
I mean, you could go Arizona.
Nova,
I guess a little bit there. I mean,
Arizona,
I mean, Andre Iguodala, uh, Richard Jefferson,
Jefferson,
Stanley Johnson. I mean, he was not, I guess this season the rookie Benedict Mathurin.
Matherin.
Yeah. Laurie Markkinen.
Yeah.
So Arizona's another team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So I mean
Yeah.
there's been a lot of I think this little NBA tier of colleges could really, go past just Duke and Kentucky when you really break it down.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, trying to think. I mean, consistently, those were the main ones. You could
Yes.
say, because other schools I'm thinking that have been successful, but they were only, I'm not saying one hit wonder, but they only had a couple seasons sporadic. For example, UNLV historically has been one of the most best programs, but they haven't been relevant since Tarkanian days.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we could say, maybe you could throw this one in there, Virginia, with yeah, well, I guess like younger guys like now. I mean, there's guys back in the day that you could probably go back for Virginia, but now I guess you could say Malcolm Brogdon, DeAndre Hunter. Those are the first two guys that come to mind for me. Uh, there's more, but oh, no, I was gonna say Kyle Guy, but no, he never panned out.
Mm-hmm.
He was that hero in the tournament there. Um, Malcolm Brogdon, uh, you got Malcolm Brogdon, you got DeAndre Hunter. There's a couple more though in recent years, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? He never panned he was sensational in that tournament in that championship game against Texas Tech. He never panned out in the NBA though. What was his name?
Oh, oh,
Oh. Oh, what was his name? I can't think of it.
I
He
can't.
got drafted by the Timberwolves, I think it was. Oh my gosh, you got to look this up. It's going to
Wait,
drive
wait.
me. Oh, what's his name? Oh, don't tell me. What's his name? Oh, I can't think
What
of it now.
school? Wait, what?
He went to Virginia.
Oh,
No, 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 no. I'm sorry. No, no, no. He went to
really?
Texas Tech. No, no, no. He went to Texas Tech. He was a lottery pick. He went to Texas Tech. This is where it was. My mind's all over the place right now. It was to Virginia and Texas Tech in the championship, but he went to Texas Tech. Can't think of his name. That was the year with Chris Beard. Um, that was the year with uh the point guard
Oh,
uh Arcetti. I forget, not him though. It was, oh my gosh, this is gonna drive me crazy. This player, Jarrett Culver. That's his
Derek
name.
Culver.
That's his name. Yeah, he wasn't Virginia, but he sparked my mind because obviously Virginia and Texas Tech played. What other Virginia players in the college? Malcolm Brogdon, DeAndre Hunter. Who else? I'm drawing a blank here.
Virginia. Yeah, Brogdon.
I'm drawing a blank here.
I am too.
I can't
Oh,
think.
DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, I said him. Yeah, him and
Him,
Brogdon. But
DeAndre Hunter.
there's nobody else. Is that it?
Uh, I'm trying to. Oh, Trey Murphy went there.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. Pelicans. Yeah, he's having a good year this year. Okay, so Trey Murphy. There's three right there. They're not obviously they're not in
Yeah.
the
Who else?
conversation. They're not in the conversation of
Oh my God, what's
any
his
other
name?
of the teams we named.
Oh,
Colleges
Joe
we named.
Harris. Wait, Joe Harris.
Joe Harris is another guy.
I
Yeah.
think Ty Jerome, who has been for the
Yes,
Warriors.
Warriors.
The
Yep,
Warriors.
that's a good call out there. So you got Ty Jerome.
These are the
Okay,
only ones.
here's our starting five: Ty Jerome, Joe Harris, DeAndre Hunter, Malcolm Brogdon. Who's our other fifth guy?
Um,
There's somebody who else is who's our fifth guy?
a fifth guy.
So this lineup is going up against Duke, Kentucky, UCLA, and Arizona would lose by
Jesus.
50.
I mean, Sam Hauser, but he hasn't.
Okay, so Sam Hauser, that's our lineup. Sam Hauser, because he went to Virginia.
Sam Hauser.
So there's your lineup against those other. Yeah, rest assured that I think we'd lose by 50.
Oh,
So
or you could do Dorian Finney-Smith or Keldon Johnson.
no, Dorian Finney-Smith was the Gators.
I thought he was Virginia.
No, he went to
Oh,
UF.
he split. Wait, oh, he split time.
Did he? No,
I,
I don't.
I thought he did.
Did he? Look it
Because
up
I
and then.
remember he was for sure Florida, but I thought he went to
I know
Virginia
he
for a
was
little
Florida.
bit.
I know it was Florida. I don't know if I don't think he did. He go to Virginia?
Maybe he only went for a little bit, but he was more famed at Florida. He was better at Florida, obviously.
Dorian Finney-Smith for Virginia. I don't think he did. I'm pretty sure he went to UF.
He did go to UF for sure,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember.
He's from Virginia, but he went to
Gotcha.
UF. Okay, so last part of the show here, we had a little fun there with UCLA,
Mhm.
Arizona, Kentucky, and Duke with the NBA, teams for college players that were in college and now are in the NBA. How about Austin Reaves, though? He has been spectacular this season. This is something I think you knew I was going to be talking about on the show.
Mhm.
He may not get the max, obviously. He's not there
Mhm.
yet, but the Lakers are probably going to have to give him the 4-year, $50 million deal. So you give me your thoughts and I'll give you mine.
I would say now, obviously, they have to work with the cap, and they had
Mm-hmm.
to see who are they going to use the MILE, the max,
The mid, yeah,
the the
mid
mid level
level
exception.
exemption. Yeah.
Yep, the mid level exception. Don't give it to him. But there's all those. But in my opinion, should they do it? Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
should because Austin Reaves. Because I know a few fans wondered, okay, but how is he going to keep up with LeBron without LeBron? Because
Mm-hmm.
him and LeBron have such an amazing chemistry. But as we've seen, he's been him. Literally, he's him. And without LeBron, with
He actually has 11 points right now in the Suns game. Now it's not the game's not over yet, but he already has 11 points.
exactly. And I think with
Ooh.
somebody like that, guys like us, like Reeves, just don't come by that often
No, they
because
don't, especially being undrafted.
he's undrafted. I mean, he had a great story, Wichita State, coming out of Wichita State,
Yep.
just an insane, and then going to Oklahoma, undrafted, and just seeing him grow. We love him out here in LA, so I know the Wichita State fans out there, they know, and Oklahoma Sooner fans, obviously they love him, but we
And
love him out
then
here in LA.
signing a two-way deal with the Lakers, and now he's in the position of he might be able to cash in. But the thing is, the Lakers have to play this very smart because they lost out on Caruso, they lost out on Taylor Horton Tucker. I think Reeves is a better player than those two.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about it, they can't lose out on a guy like this, especially for
No,
their future. You can't lose out on a guy like this. And my biggest thing is I think lesser teams in the NBA, like the Hornets, the Pistons wanted him in the draft. I have a concern with they might sweep them out on they might sweep him away from the Lakers. They really might do it. I mean, I don't think this is really, you know, far fetched when you think about it. So,
mm-hmm.
but they have guys to pay. They have to pay Rui Hachimura. They have their option to pay D'Angelo Russell. Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley have one more year left on their deal. Obviously Mo Bamba, but Austin Reeves has to be the priority this offseason. I think the two priorities for the Lakers obviously are D'Lo and
Yes.
Austin Reeves. Your two point guards. Your
Yes.
two main parts of your offense, I guess, when LeBron and AD are out, obviously, because we know LeBron misses, a ton of games. But for me, you have to re-sign Austin Reeves. You have to do whatever it takes to get him to keep him, excuse me. So that's just where I'm at there.
Yep.
He's
I
been he's been
1000%
great.
agree.
He's been great this season for the Lakers. I know he's only averaging 12 a game, 3 rebounds, but his last 10, he's averaging 17.8, 55.9% from the field, 5 assists and 3 rebounds. Now, obviously, this is, a big part since LeBron has, been hurt, but he's been a huge part. And then the 35 points against the Magic the other
That's
night,
insane.
you have to keep this guy.
Exactly.
The Lakers, did their due diligence, scouting this guy with the Bus family, and now you have to pay up, and that's just how it's going to be. You weren't able to get him at a you got him at a cheap price in the beginning, and now when the time has come, you have to pay up. You have to do it. I don't think
I
they have a
agree.
choice.
They need to. I'll be very upset if they don't.
Oh, I think Lakers fans will be upset, and I think,
Yes.
and the real question is will he take a discount? He's playing himself into a nice little contract.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he'll take a discount.
Probably not.
I think he may think he's worth more than that 4-year $50 million deal. But I mean, if and also too, we still have the rest of the season, and if they do make the play in, and then the playoffs, if he continues on this trajectory, he might even make more money coming into the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah.
Lakers have to be careful with him because if he continues to play at this level, he's only going to push himself more higher on the contract level scale in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So
Totally agree.
Austin Reeves could cost the Lakers a lot of money. So that's it for the Inquisitive Mamba podcast. That does it for us. We talked about the NBA. We talked about March Madness. We dove deep into March Madness. We got a little sidetracked with college teams and players in the NBA. Now we talked a little bit about the NFL. We talked about, some TV shows, kind of what I've been doing, how Nicolette's doing in LA. She just finished up her conference there with Fox Sports. Is that correct?
Yep.
Finished up that with Fox Sports. We talked about the Sweet 16, a lot of these coaches and these coaching matchups, a lot of this guard play and March Madness, how that's been crucial all year long, especially leading up into this tournament here. But that'll do it for us. And we'll see you next time. Make sure to follow us on YouTube at the Inquisitive Mamba Podcast, TikTok at the IQM Pod, Instagram at the IQM Pod, and make sure to follow Nicolette as well on her socials. It's nrojo5. Is that correct?
Yep.
I got it right. Make sure to follow Nicolette on Twitter as well. It's nrojo5 on Twitter and Instagram as well. She does stuff for Fox Sports Digital. She does stuff for the 33rd team as well. And she's continuing to grow her sports journalism and sports media and digital career as well. And Nicolette, it's always a pleasure to have you on the IQM Pod. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. I've had a lot of fun. And thank you for having me on again.
Absolutely.